I, 21F, think I made a mistake moving to be with my BF, 22M. Can anyone shed some light? This is very long. I do not expect anyone to read it. I just need to express these thoughts as I have not been able to talk to anyone in my life for fear that they will view him negatively, and there is no coming back from that. So my boyfriend and I have been together for approximately 4 years. Initially, we were in a long-distance relationship. We met through a game as kids and became best friends. We eventually met in person when we were 18, and our connection blossomed. I was leading a successful career, but I lacked a social life. He did not have a career and would party around the clock, which he often hid from me because I am not a person who enjoys partying, and I believe having some kind of direction is essential. After a few years of long distance, I decided I was done and wanted to relocate. My life revolved around work, and I wanted to be able to breathe without constantly checking my emails and worrying. He lived in a completely different country from which I originate, so I decided to leave and live with him. Of course, I had a job lined up before leaving, so I was fine a foolish decision, as the job was in his mother's shop. Although I disliked the job, I am good at adapting and connecting with people, so I appreciated my coworkers and managed to overlook my dissatisfaction with the work itself. I went from real estate to coloring people's hair. During that time, he did not work and spent all his time on his computer playing video games. The house, if not for our cleaner, whom his mother paid since we were living in her home, would have been a disaster. Eventually, it became overwhelming, and his mother insisted he find a job. She even moved out, and I had to take over the rent, so he begrudgingly found employment. Within a month, he worked at 3 different places. He quit the first job because the woman bullied him over his reserved demeanor and weight. He was fired from the second job because the boss had to choose between him and an attractive woman, and he opted for the attractive woman since it was a bar. He left the third job due to deteriorating mental health. From then on, I genuinely tried to assist with his mental health. I paid for therapy, which he eventually attended. I urged him to see a doctor and take medication, which he also did, and things improved significantly. He was able to step away from his computer and wanted to go out again. He then began working with me in his mother's shop, which was really positive. We went out every day, worked alongside each other handling clients, and he seemed all right. Then, his mother and I had an argument where she yelled at me in front of clients, which I did not think was appropriate, so I ceased doing additional tasks for which I was not compensated. As a result, she fired me. I attempted to find a job elsewhere, but my language skills were not yet sufficient to secure another position, and honestly, I wanted to leave that place. It was so small. His mother managed the island as if it were her own little world, which I hated. I spoke to my family, who owned a holiday home on the neighboring island, and they insisted they would help us until we could regain our footing. So we moved there. It was his first time away from home and my second move to a new place in less than a year. The new location was significantly larger, and my family gifted us $10,000 to help us get settled. Once again, we felt on top of the world, foolishly buying random items and dining out as we had before. I started my freelance business, which I had always dreamed of doing, dedicating some funds to that and hiring a teacher to improve my language skills. I do not really know what he did during that time because I was so focused on myself and building something. Soon, the money ran out. I know, how on earth can you spend $10,000 in a couple of months? I honestly cannot explain it. We ate out as we used to, but this time in much larger and more expensive establishments. We spent on our friends as we had before. Just unreasonable expenses that I deeply regret looking back. Regardless, I did not want to ask my family for more because that money was intended to last a while until we could provide for ourselves. Fortunately, my business started gaining traction, and I was earning a reasonable income. It was insufficient to fully support us, but it was a decent amount for a new business. My boyfriend, on the other hand, struggled to find any work, and to be honest, he often did not want to. I kept insisting he search for a job to ensure we had a steady income. My business is service-oriented, so it is challenging for me to hold a traditional job while managing my business, and I hoped that, since we had relied on me for some time, I could rely on him while I pursued something I genuinely wanted again. Especially since a significant reason for my move was to be myself and pursue my true desires. He cycled through 3 jobs in 2 to 3 months, all of which he was dismissed from for valid reasons. He did not take it seriously, and each time it became a matter of, "I guess I need to look for another one," along with declarations that this was not what he wished to do. He consistently urged me to find a job again since I am a good worker, and he is not. But I would argue, "What are you going to do?" And he would say, "I do not know, but I need something creative. I am not meant to work a regular job." This made me feel disheartened, as I was really beginning to establish a name for myself. I had a promising 2 to 3 months of bookings lined up, so I allowed him the opportunity to pursue what he wanted, and we brainstormed ideas. He has a tattooing certificate and is an outstanding tattoo artist and artist overall. He is award-winning. I encouraged him to focus on that, but after a week or two, his enthusiasm waned, and he returned to playing video games. I consistently attempted to motivate him to pursue his passions, but he would become angry with me for always pushing him. It reached a point where I found myself frequently shouting at him. This is quite astonishing, as those who knew me previously would never characterize me as someone who gets angry. My constant stress and shouting indicated something significant. Now, we are at a stage where my client base has dwindled, and I am preparing to give up my business to seek employment for a consistent income. He talks about wanting to enroll in a course, expressing newfound excitement about physiotherapy. The course costs $1,000, and his argument is that if I go to work, in a year or two, he will have a great career, and I will not need to work again. I am just exhausted. My mental health has taken a significant downturn. I no longer engage in activities I love because I am constantly worried we will face financial ruin and have nothing. We have cats, by the way, which we had before all of this, so even supporting them has become challenging, and I do not know what to do. The house we live in is a disaster because he does not clean, and if I do not do it or ask him to, nothing will get done. A close friend visited and commented that the state of the house reflects my mind, and when I first got to know her, I maintained a tidy home, but it has deteriorated over the past few months, which she truthfully noted. We have mountains of dirty dishes, stacks of laundry, and bags of trash that he has neglected to take out for weeks. I enter a cleaning frenzy when I need to tidy up, but I quickly become burnt out because there is just too much. However, when I ask him for help, it becomes a major conflict, and he takes ages or just argues that he does not understand why he needs to do it. I am genuinely fed up. I know I should tell him to leave, but the issue is that my family will be coming to visit in about 3 months, and I know I will not be able to manage everything alone. There is a door that is broken due to him slipping on the wet tile floors and going through it. I wanted to fix that before they arrived because although they are aware of it, I want to show that I have taken care of it and am responsible for the house. Additionally, I need to set aside $600 to put my cats in a cat hotel since my family does not want them around while they are here. I feel so lost and slowly recognize that this entire situation may have been a mistake. It is midday now. He is still asleep. I have washed part of the pile of dishes he is supposed to clean because we literally had no plates or cutlery. I left the rest for him to handle, but he will probably not do it properly, and I will need to redo it anyway. I simply know that I do not want this for my future. He struggles with severe mental health issues and is on a multitude of medications, but I cannot take care of him, myself, the house, and our finances. It is too overwhelming. I recall the period when he was medicated and happy, and I know he can be a good partner, but right now, that seems distant. I do not want to move back home, as I was genuinely miserable there and prefer living here, even if it means being alone, but I am unsure. He frequently claims that he exists only for me and because of me. When I express how challenging this situation is, he mentions that he tries, but his mind complicates everything, leading to self-destructive behavior. I do not want to leave him, but I also deserve much more than this. I am a smart and genuinely beautiful woman. When I am with him, people joke that I must be under some kind of spell or something and express confusion about how we ended up together. I am aware that I deserve better, yet I am still holding out hope that he will start taking things seriously again because I do not want anyone else. He is my best friend above all else and has been since we were around 14 years old. Story 2. After my ex left me during a stressful time, he still checks in but claims he's not ready for a relationship. Was our connection just a honeymoon phase, or can stress really change someone that much? Hi, I am having a really hard time moving on from my ex, with whom I was together for 1.5 years. He left me during a particularly stressful week for him, even though we had just discussed our relationship a few days earlier. In hindsight, I threatened to leave him several times out of frustration and desperation because I felt so neglected during those moments. I often cried while being with him, not because I wanted to, but because I felt hurt. Frequently, I sensed that he did not even realize he had caused me pain and never intended to do so. However, his anxious nature completely projected onto me, and at times, I broke under the pressure, only for him to accuse me of creating drama. He was incredibly helpful with my career, and I appreciated that, but I also desired for him to be emotionally present and take initiative. Whenever I expressed this, his response was often, "I wanted to do it, but now that you mentioned it, I won't, because you are pressuring me." He never initiated physical contact either, and that lack of intimacy weighed heavily on me. Reflecting on our past, he told me that when he asked for help, I moved mountains, and I should have simply refused like, "What? Then why did he ask me in the first place?" He still checks in on me and even requests my advice, yet at the same time, he continuously states that he is not ready for a relationship. I wanted to engage in serious discussions about the future, but he always dodged them. Even the small tasks like helping me cook when I asked or offering assistance when I struggled with 3 bags felt overwhelming for him. He is an exceedingly anxious person, perpetually preoccupied with what others think, and he places his career above everything else. He could not even organize my birthday or holiday presents independently. His family and roommate had to do it for him and choose a restaurant for my birthday. He also criticized me for texting too much, even though I only ever replied after he initiated the conversation, and I definitely did not bombard him with messages. By the end of our relationship, I was texting my friends more than I was texting him. Meanwhile, he often left me on read but expected immediate responses when he wanted to communicate. On Christmas, while we were with his family, I wanted some alone time together, but he completely withdrew. He even criticized the duration of our kisses and refused any physical affection. Yet, he spent hours on Instagram, even when we were present together. He never seemed capable of managing his time well, bringing work home while his colleagues, with the same workload, managed to complete theirs during work hours. Yet, after work, he could still spend hours watching television. He was always too exhausted when I suggested going out, but the moment his friends had plans, he was always eager to join, regardless of how tired he felt. I drove us everywhere because he does not own a car. I simply wanted him to be there for me, but it always felt like I was fighting for scraps of attention. He claims he wants a family, a house, and children, but how can someone like him handle the responsibilities of a relationship, let alone a family? Despite all of this, we shared incredible moments, and I still love him deeply. In the beginning, he was remarkably different, attentive, interested, always excited to see me. We had so much fun together, were on the same wavelength, and had similar interests. He could not get enough of me and loved being with me. However, in the end, I felt like I was too much for him, as if even seeing each other once a week was exhausting for him. I recognized that work stress played a significant role, and I tried to compromise and understand, but I also attempted to envision a future. If he is already so drained after work and requires so much downtime, how could we ever have a family without everything revolving around accommodating his exhaustion? The most painful part is that he chose to leave during one of the worst possible times while I was preparing for one of the biggest exams of my life, something crucial for my career. That alone made me question everything. On the other hand, because we are approaching our 30s, I told him that at some point in the next 2 to 3 years, I wanted to buy a house and start a family, as I did not want to wait until we are 35 and both of our families would have supported us. He is still living with his roommate, who does a significant portion of the daily household chores, taking out the trash, loading the dishwasher, grocery shopping, washing clothes, etc. My ex has never lived alone there, has always been someone helping him, yet everyone on the outside told me we were a great fit and did so well together. Could stress really have changed him this much, or was the beginning simply the honeymoon phase? Do you think therapy could have helped him or us navigate these issues, Or was this relationship destined to end? Why does he still check in and seek my advice if he does not want a relationship? Was his withdrawal a sign that he never truly loved me, or was he just overwhelmed? Thank you for any advice in advance.